Imagine a platform where some of Britain's biggest stars have the opportunity to reflect and celebrate their biggest professional accomplishments in a lovely, relaxed, chatty space. Since 2016, Josh Barry's Beyond the Title has celebrated the great and good of entertainment from showbiz legends to rising stars and everyone in between, who have each provided an insight into their remarkable careers in the public eye. So join Josh and the team as another significant figure in entertainment shares their unique anecdotes and stories exclusively on Beyond the Title.
Singer-songwriter Will Young won the hearts of the nation in 2002 when almost 10 million viewers watched him claim victory over the bookies' favourite Gareth Gates on ITV's Pop Idol. His debut album, From Now On, entered the charts at number 1 and became the 18th biggest selling album of 2002. His follow-up album, Friday's Child, peaked at number 1 and contained the melancholic anthem Leave Right Now. In 2005, Will made his film debut alongside acting royalty Dame Judi Dench and Bob Hoskins in the musical blockbuster Mrs. Henderson Presents, before being nominated for an Olivier Award for his portrayal of MC in Rufus Norris's revival of Cabaret, first at the Savoy Theatre before reprising the role for a nationwide tour. As a broadcaster, Will has presented radio shows for BBC Radio 2 and Magic before returning to the talent show format in 2022 when he was unmasked as Lionfish in the third series of The Masked Singer. Just a year later, Will made his debut at the world-famous Glastonbury Festival with a set full of powerful anthems which defined a generation. I caught up with the supreme entertainer to talk music, reality and his recollections on a truly fascinating career in music. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Will Young. So, Will Young, welcome to Beyond the Title. We'll obviously get into the highlights of your career in a minute, but what do you think it was about post-millennial Britain that was craving an update to the talent show format?
That's a very good question. Well, I'm trying to think what was going on at the time. So it was 2001, 2002. So were we still under Blair then? Yeah. So I guess there was a very positive sense in the country still sort of overspilling from that government. And maybe there was a sense of if you try your hardest, you can sort of get there. Or, I mean, there had been the talent shows were beginning to sort of come back up again because there'd been Pop Stars. And then I think Pop Stars The Rivals was either just after, or I can't remember. And then there had been Big Brother as well, which was a sort of, it was different because it wasn't Big Brother. You only saw us on stage, really. But perhaps there was an interest in sort of normal people, and seeing their journey, and maybe bypassing sort of the normal process of record companies. But I think also there was pop at that time was quite manufactured. People would mime a lot. It wasn't really about singing. So this also kind of brought it back to singers and people being able to sing. And then after that, there was a big change and definitely a move towards singers again, and people sort of maybe even a sort of backlash against miming. So it was an interesting time, but really what it did do is give sort of power to the people for them to make a choice. And maybe that was tying into a greater thing that was going on sort of socio-politically at the time in the UK,
And obviously in 2001, the concept of reality television was a new phenomenon. What was your preconceived idea about the show beforehand?
Well, that's really interesting because there wasn't masses to go on. There was a show on BBC, which I think was hosted by Jane McDonald, or something like Star for Star, was it that? Yeah, or Star for a Night, or Star something like that. And so I didn't have masses to go on because I didn't really grow up with talent shows. They were more bigger sort of, I think, 70s, early 80s. I
Mm.
don't really remember them.
Yeah.
Um, there was something called Opportunity Knocks, I think, that was about,
Yeah.
which I think Bob Monkhouse might have done. Um, but yeah, so in terms of my sort of preconceptions of what it might be, I didn't actually think for a second about it becoming a big thing. I didn't think about it becoming how as big as it did.
Mm.
Um, it was just quite exciting to sing.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, okay, well, that's cool because I just wanted to sing, but I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of was where my focus was. Um, and I remember a lot of people did say in interviews like, "Oh, I'd like to be." A lot of people said, "I want to be famous. I'd like to be a famous pop star." But I always said, "Oh, I just want to sing."
Mm.
That was sort of my drive. Yeah, but we didn't really have an idea of how big the show was getting because we were quite in our own little bubble.
Yeah.
So not really until towards the end did we start thinking, "Oh, I think people are, this is sort of got hold of a nation." Because they
Mm.
started talking about it more on the radio and it was talked about in Parliament and yeah.
Hey, hey, it's you. Yeah. Oh, I do. Hey, the it's like it's
If you look at Pop Idol, even though it's got like the elements of similar things, it's not as glamorous as sort of X Factor or Britain's Got Talent ever became.
No, it was very simple and I think that was probably the beauty of it in a way. I
Mm.
mean, if you look at it now, it looks very dated because you didn't have massive production, we didn't have dancers, we didn't have, I mean, we had styling, um, but it was all really about just how the person sang.
Mm.
Um, and I think there was something quite innocent about that. And I don't think that it was being manipulated. I think the sort of productions and all those kind of things, people sort of realized they could make lots of money. So then they started adding more onto it, which it wasn't really needed, interestingly, because it was a sort of format that was working. Um, so I'm not sure why that happened in a way, but I guess everything needs to grow, or people think it needs to grow. But really, what was so great about it was that it was just so simple.
Mm.
It's just people singing and then people saying whether they liked it or not.
yeah.
Um, and reaching the final thrusted you and Gareth into an unprecedented level of fame. How did you go about dealing with that?
Well, it was interesting because there's a sort of when because I knew I always wanted to be a singer, I always knew that then fame would come with that if I was a big singer.
Mm.
So when you get there, I was like, okay, well, this is sort of what I expected
Yeah.
and what I wanted. Um, and I managed pretty well, really, to just not let let the sort of noise of the fame get in the way of the music,
Mm.
because that was sort of the key for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't really engage in it because I knew it was nonsense. And also because I'd studied politics, I knew how the papers worked and I knew that there was spin and I knew that there was people would write things but wouldn't necessarily be true. And I already knew that in politics. So it was just the same in with famous people.
Yeah.
They might say things, but also there was no social media then.
Mm.
There was, so the papers really did have a lot of power until the phone hacking. Two things changed: phone hacking and the rise of social media. But before that, there was a sense that if you weren't engaging in the celebrity columns of various papers, then your career wouldn't happen. And so that bind was an unpleasant bind, and they did have a lot of power. But then what's so interesting is phone hacking blew it out the water because people were like, these people are horrible.
Yeah.
And and also they were doing it to everyday people, not just famous people,
yeah.
because no one cares about famous people, which is fine. But then the rise of social media made it much more democratic. So really, it didn't really matter necessarily what a paper might say, because a famous person could go on social media and say this, or for promotion, famous, they could go and promote just online if you got a big following. So I've definitely seen a huge shift in how fame was manufactured and controlled, and in a sort of odd relationship with the papers. But when print media started dwindling because people could take more agency, take control more and have more agency because of their own channels, it changed a lot. Yeah, but it wasn't too bad. It was all right. It was, it could be difficult when things might be written about your family and things, because you're like, that's not really anything to do with, they're nothing to do with my career.
Yeah.
But you just had to stay away from the noise, because if you got involved with the noise, then I mean, it was sort of, you'd be miserable the whole time or stressed the whole time.
Do you think you were the last generation that had to deal with that?
I think on that level, yes. Yeah, I think on that level, the sort of 2000s were probably the last generation of people in music that had to deal with that. And also there was also a lot more to do. That's what was nice. So, we'd be doing radio shows every weekend throughout the summer,
Yeah.
for a weekend. There was a lot more music television. It was probably like 10 different programs on TV. And then YouTube happened, and I'm not sure why music stopped being, I mean, maybe it was YouTube and social media, but I'm not sure why music stopped being so popular on TV. I think maybe there were just more places that people could see it. But that I feel very lucky that I got to do a lot of performing on a lot of shows on TV. And it's sort of, you had shows like CD UK, you had Top of the Pops, and you had T4, you had E4, you had numerous chat shows, just a lot more places to be able to perform.
Yeah.
And a lot more local radio stations, independent. Things weren't centralized then, and sort of celebration of local areas, and maybe there was a lot more money. So that, I feel very lucky that I got to experience that, because people just don't have that at all now, unless they're like in pop, right? Unless they're doing like school gigs, which is a whole different ball game for very young kids. And that's normally like real teeny boppy bands,
Yeah.
which is fine. But it's a shame that that doesn't exist anymore, because it was a really fun time.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, now I hope that for the that we so
Last year, Josh wrote a book about TV Centre, and one of the main things that came out of it was that he realised that there wasn't sort of many platforms for live performers anymore like they used to be.
Well, exactly. That's what's so sad. There is still radio, and I think it probably started with like MySpace was the thing, through Facebook, MySpace. Um, People like Lily Allen was an obvious one that came from MySpace, and but it is sad that went, and it's not really. I mean, now it's record companies don't want to spend the money on TV performances. Really, they'd rather have a budget and just spend it on loads of tiny little things to put on social media.
Yeah.
Because social media has a reach of potentially 7 billion people,
Yeah.
however many people live in the world, as opposed to Jonathan Ross that has, I don't know, 2 million or something.
Yeah.
So they see the numbers dwindle. They see how much it costs. Costs have probably gone up. Um, they just think it's not worth it. So, I mean, a lot of the time now, even if you have music on a show, a lot of record companies will say, we're not going to spend the money because they spend the money, the TV show doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's all coming from ultimately the artist budget. But it is sad. Yeah, sad that's not there.
yeah.
In 2004, you were part of Band Aid 20. Looking back, how did this help you step out of your pop idol shadow?
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I'm not sure if it changed massively in terms of changing me coming from a talent show, but it was interesting to be a part of um, that event and being around lots of different artists. I think the bigger thing that probably moved me on maybe out of the shadow of being in a talent show was working with a producer called Steve Lipsome, who was Annie Lennox's producer and had done Grace Jones and Whitney Houston, and had very good credibility, and was a serious producer. And I think, and that record, I think, with a song like Leave Right Now and the whole album was probably more developed and adult and mature than perhaps people had expected coming from a talent show. So I think that was probably a bigger change, and also the type of people I work with, the type of video directors were very well respected video directors, and I think that probably changed it. Yeah.
Oh, where you put a car of your
Did you always think that you were going to go off on your own?
Yeah, what in terms of go off on my own, sort of moving away from that talent show thing?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I needed the help of people like Steve. I mean, probably Steve probably gave me a career. Um, but I was also very lucky because my management, more than the record company, were very supportive of working with different types of people.
Yeah.
So the kind of video ideas, one of the songs on the album I think was 9 minutes long, massive orchestral instrumental, like 2 minute guitar solo. I mean, people wouldn't do that in a pop record, but they really supported that. So I think it was thanks to my management, actually, genuinely, and Steve, that they helped, because I don't think I wouldn't have been able to done it on my own.
Yeah.
But they, yeah, I always felt I didn't feel that Pop Idol gave me a career. I felt like it gave me a chance,
Yeah.
but then I had to earn to have a career.
Yeah. Hey, who is you about he who will say that sort of silver no a lot of them made it through.
Um, all the people that were famous on that sort of show, not a lot of them made it through, as into further things. Not a lot of them made it on to further.
But like you not when the right time will made that time.
But he said he guesses you had the right, the knowledge to know when to make that change at the right time.
Yeah, and I think also, I think you have to be sort of quite philosophical about it in a way, in terms of some people are going to make it, some people aren't.
Yeah,
And sort of it doesn't matter. I think people would sometimes be like, "Oh, they didn't make it, they didn't," but it's like they did make it. People we can be very quick to sort of once we get something. I don't know if you guys have this, but you think, oh, I'd really like a sort of new shower, let's say. So you get a new shower. Then you forget how brilliant it is to have the new shower, and you forget what it was like when you had the crap shower.
yeah,
And actually, like,
Yeah.
how amazing you've got a new shower, but you very quickly sort of think, oh, I'd quite like a new bed now. You know. So, my point is, all these people, they did brilliantly.
yeah,
They do brilliantly to be brave enough, get on those shows, do it,
yeah,
and then everything else brilliant. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And maybe people fall aside for different reasons. They might have not enough confidence, or you know, maybe their brain wasn't suited for that kind of industry, or maybe they weren't actually talented enough to last past the sort of initial show. Um, but I think it's sort of people sometimes can be like, "Oh, they never made it," or they didn't. I think, well, they did brilliantly. You know, you go for as long as you can go,
yeah,
and isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
We're very quick as a society to move on and forget. You know, I mean, obviously you can't rest on your laurels, but you know, we don't celebrate things enough. We very quickly move on, and we're taught that in our lives, aren't we? Oh well, you forget. Like I never thought I'd own a house. I mean, like, how amazing! I own a house. You know what I mean? I never thought I'd pass my driving test. I was like, oh, how amazing! I passed my driving test. And still, I still remind myself now, age 47. I'm like, yeah, cool, I can drive.
um, Josh is a bit of an entertainment anorak and understands the huge influence that the Windmill Theatre had on post-war entertainment. But how much research did you do before taking on the role in Mrs. Henderson Presents?
I don't think I did that much, to be honest. I did a fair amount. Yeah, I think they told. I mean, we obviously then learned about the story,
Yeah,
um, and I think there was still some. There were actually. There was, I think, about 8 or 12 women who'd been in the Windmill Theatre, um, who came to the film set, came to the premiere. But then, obviously, and Josh, you'll know this, there was then a heritage after that period. So you had a lot of entertainers. Bruce Forsyth, people that cut their teeth in that kind of variety world. which then would be a reason why they became so successful on TV. But they were like, they could tap dance, they could do comedy, they could sing, they could act. And that was an amazing sort of very fertile ground for a lot of Jimmy Tarbuck, a lot of probably Bob Monkhouse, a lot of entertainers cut their teeth on that kind of mold that came from the windmill, and either performed in the windmill or performed in variety and kind of rep around the country. Yeah.
I was telling you my about only possibly I could and say so it's really and he did his rotation and he was tried I was there.
Josh knew Barry Cryer before he passed away, who started off at the windmill, and he did his audition at 10:30 in the morning, and then was on stage officially 2 hours later. So yeah, Josh knows a few of the people that sort of came up through there.
Yeah, brilliant heritage. And he was such a very funny, erudite, smart, intelligent, sensitive, man. Yeah.
I have you still light so in the summer.
Yeah, Josh is doing a live show about him and his career during the summer. So
Yeah, that's cool.
was acting always something you were passionate about?
It was something that actually when I was about 12, I was looking at going to drama school. But then I decided I didn't want to. So actually acting was sort of more, I always knew I was going to sing, but acting was more present than the singing. Um, and then when I started doing videos, I sort of thought, oh yeah, I'm enjoying the acting. And then it just sort of happened weirdly. I think I'd even said on a TV show I'd love to do some acting, and then it just sort of happened that I got a film role in Mrs. Henderson Presents, that was about the Windmill Theatre. And then just carried on sort of doing plays and TV shows, musicals, radio plays, sort of since then. Yeah.
You've also done Strictly. How do you think your Pop Idol experience helped you to become comfortable with the live elements of the show?
Oh, well, I didn't like it, so I left. I didn't like it. Yeah, I didn't like it. It was sort of, I love dancing, but I think it was a mistake for me. And also I was really struggling with anxiety then, and I shouldn't have done it because I was not feeling well enough, but I sort of slightly got forced into it. But I'm pleased that then I decided, no, I shouldn't be doing this. And it was a good lesson for me because I thought, well, no, my health is more important than money and exposure. So sort of it was very liberating actually to go, no, I need to, I need to leave for my own health, my own well-being. And yeah, it was the right decision.
What is focus with someone coming home now?
What advice would you have for someone that was going on there now?
Oh, well, I think you should just see it as fun
Mm,
because it was fun. For me, I couldn't access the fun,
mm,
so I thought, well, no, this is just no point. I'm just having a miserable time and getting more and more ill. But
mm,
actually, dancing should be fun. You've got to train hard, but that's all right. And you're learning a skill.
mm,
And so that would be my advice is just to not take it too seriously. I mean, I know people do get very stressed on that show, and entertainment is a very stressful category in TV. Um, so you just can't overthink it. You just have to see the fun in it and try not to overthink it and let get pressured by it because it's only a dance show at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. You know
yeah.
what I mean? You're not saving lives.
Um, in 2023, you made your Glastonbury debut. Why do you think Glastonbury remains a rite of passage for many performers?
I did. I think it was earlier actually. I think I did Glastonbury maybe in around 2009 first. Um, or 2010. Yeah, Josh,
Yeah,
get your facts right.
for that.
Yeah, how dare you?
No,
Can't
no,
believe it. So offended.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the wrong Wikipedia. No, I think so. But it is a rite of passage, and I used to go quite a lot.
Mm,
I used to go because I was at university near there, so we were at the time when you could sneak in, because they didn't have big fences, or people would pull the fences down, and you just sneak in. But it's a lot more secure now, and it's rightfully so because you can't have how many people go? I don't know. I think it's like 180,000, 150,000. But they used to get whatever it was. You'd end up with double because people would just go break in. Um, but so I think I've probably been probably about 10 times as a punter and as a singer.
mm,
And I think I've done it 4 times as a singer. Um, and it's great. Yeah, it really it just has an energy of its own. Um, the last time I didn't want to do it, I didn't see any point because I wasn't. It was costing me money to do it because of the cost of the band and things and what I was being paid. And I thought, oh, come on, what's the point in this? Um, and I'd done it 3 times already,
mm,
but it was a really great gig. There's just a sort of lovely energy that sort of takes over. I don't really know how to describe it, and I do think it's quite particular to Glastonbury actually. I mean, other festivals, you do get great vibes, and anything outside is a different kind of energy.
yeah,
But Glastonbury in particular feels very loving,
mm,
um, and you just get such a mixture of people, and I'd always find that very moving.
mm,
Um, to see such a mixture of people there, yeah, and just having such a wonderful time.
yeah,
Um, and sometimes the weather's all. I mean, one year, I mean, it was just famously. I mean, people couldn't move because they just got stuck in the mud.
yeah,
But people trek all the way to your stage and trek all the way back, and it's just very moving
mm,
because unlike people buying a ticket to see you, they've bought a ticket to see so many people.
yeah,
And so you're very aware, I'm very aware that people have made the decision, oh, we'll go and see Will at this time. And, that involves sometimes like 40 minutes walking across site.
mm,
And so it's very moving. Yeah, it's lovely.
mm.
Oh my goodness. God.
Yeah, Josh has always wanted to go. I've never been either, to be
Well,
fair.
you must go.
So.
You
Yeah.
must. You must. And you can do interviews there.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
the Isle of Wight festival here, so we go to that every year.
Well, that was my other real favorite. I was the actually
I
that was the
see.
first. Did you go to that?
Yeah, he saw you.
That was brilliant. That was my first. That actually was my first ever proper festival. Was the Isle of Wight, and I still listen to that gig because it was such a. I had a new band and I'd had my tonsils out, and it was just brilliant. It was
Mm,
one of my favourite ever gigs, and I still talk to a couple of the musicians that say, oh, wasn't that a great gig? In fact, yeah, three or four of them. Yeah. So it was just wonderful. Yeah.
Well, if you ever come back, we'll have to interview on site.
Have you ever
No,
done
you only
that?
get one, Josh. Don't push your luck.
Especially if you don't get the dates right in the
Yeah,
question.
you get the dates right. You probably won't be there. You get
Yeah.
the wrong day.
Well, you might
I might interview you.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Um, in recent years, you've honed your skills as a broadcaster on Magic and Radio 2. How has this changed your approach towards making music?
Well, I love doing radio too. Yeah, I was sad when I stopped doing that, but that's the way things go. It's fine. But I used to was sort of deputy for Joe Wiley, and it was what, and she's a friend of mine, and it was just really lovely to do, and it reminded me how much I love music actually, um, and it's probably left a bit of a hole actually because a lot of my time with music is spent either it's a bit too like navel gazing maybe if I'm making music, so it's all a bit too much about me.
Mm.
Um, it reminded me what my passion was for music, and also reminded me how much I knew. Um, and because people don't weirdly don't tend to get asked that much about music, even though you're in music. It tends to be more. It's just doesn't seem to be about that. So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the idea of sort of curating music. And because Joe shows, you know, you can do that. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it started to change a bit. There was a sort of different remit that came in, which is fine. Things change. But there was a lot of freedom, particularly in the first sort of couple of years, and that was really it was just a lot of fun. But also because I started doing podcasts, and then I sort of honed the skills through that, and then also Joe used to have a section where you do a lot more interviews. I think that's come back now actually, which I'm really pleased about.
Mm.
Um, so I just got to interview just so many brilliant people like Alice Cooper and David Gray and um, this amazing director and oh god, who else? That brilliant artist who I can't remember the name of now. Um, I can see her, Laurie Anderson, and uh, yeah, all great people that I thought were brilliant singers. Like there's a great artist called Aeneas, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do her song of the week, and then I can interview her or John Grant. Um, yeah, it was just or Joseph, great Scottish singer. So that was really really fun,
Mm.
um, and probably like enjoyed it more in a way actually.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do miss doing that because I like talking to people. I like interviewing people, and but it was within the music realm, which was really fun.
Mm.
And, and that's the only the thing of the house that time with about any but if after some really so innocent.
That's the only show that Josh can think of that has that sort of situation where you sit down and interview someone for a good length of time about whatever you want, whereas a lot of the other ones are sort of like really short interviews about.
Yeah, I think they sort of moved. It was again, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's sort of sad, really, that people sort of felt like that format was too long and boring, and everything has to be more punchy and more immediate and sort of bright lights and you know it's I don't know why that's the case, but I think what happened was there was a sort of move away from it, but then there was a move back towards it
Mm.
because they started trying to take live music away and things like that. But then there was a move back to it, so that's really positive. Um, and I think it's sad. I don't know. Maybe it is driven by social media. I don't know that our attention spans are just sort of so tiny now, or maybe
Yeah.
streaming music. People just flick, flick, flick. It's sad that people feel you can't. If you think people don't have the attention spans and you're not giving that stuff to them, then they're gonna become,
Yeah.
have shorter. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
so is it the whatever the phrase is the cart leading the horse or the horse leading the cart? You're not. I'm not sure sometimes, and I always think it's better to, particularly also like great. Let's say someone like Lisa Tarbuck, who's a great Radio 2 DJ, she just finished after I think 14 years. Okay, she's brilliant DJ. You know, she's a brilliant DJ because she plays really interesting, brilliant music. She's also really funny, and she's just a
Yeah.
great DJ. And a big part of being a DJ is you're talking.
Mm.
Joe's a great DJ, um, and the talking is really important part of the um, talent.
Mm.
Because otherwise you just what? Just put on a playlist. You might as well just listen to Spotify. So
Yeah.
I'm pleased that Joe's show still provides that sort of bastion. I mean, you do have Radio Six, which is great and very different. Um, but yeah, I think Joe's show is a bit of a bastion. Joe's show and Lisa's show, and then you've got people like Keris and Jamie Cullum, Bob Harris, that do sort of more specialised shows. I mean, Jamie's show is brilliant, and Keris's show is really good. Um, yeah, so they've got some brilliant DJs there. I mean, Ryland's a brilliant DJ as well. Dermot's a really, really good DJ. He plays great music.
Yeah.
Um,
Horrible man though.
Ah, really?
Yeah, horrible. Don't tell anyone. Don't
Yeah.
tell. Don't tell anyone.
don't worry, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, no one will know. It's fine. It's fine.
Um, mental health is currently a huge topic on political agenda, and hearing your candid interview with Joe and Zoe on Dig It, I understand that you've recently had your own personal challenges. So how important do you feel it is for high-profile figures like yourself to share your experiences?
Well, I mean, it depends on who the person is. I don't think people should have to at all. Um, just for me, I've always thought I like being transparent, and I think there's a lot of power in it. I also think it's a bit anarchic because people don't expect it because people think that you're going to be, you know, I think it's really boring to have people pretending that life's perfect the whole time. I also think it's really damaging, and I think it's part of a sort of false celebrity culture where people are like, it's like the people that have had like loads of work done on their face, and then people go, "Oh, you look so amazing." And it's a bit like, why are we all sitting there pretending that you don't have a really good surgeon, you know, rather than going, "Thanks." And it's like you're 70, you look 20, but I think and I think fine, they shouldn't have to say anything, but at the same time, I do think it can be damaging. You have to be mindful. It can be damaging to young girls and guys, if you're like rocking up presenting a false ideal of yourself. That's really damaging. You have to take responsibility for that. Also being aware that maybe people don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They just want someone, so they just want certain women to look young still and wear a nice dress and promote whatever they're promoting. But I don't think it's like that kind of stuff. It's very self-serving, and I don't think it really adds anything to the world. What are you adding? So for me, I always think if I'm going to be honest about anything, maybe that's giving other people permission to be human rather than be this kind of odd, perfect. I mean, I could sit here and say, look at my perfect house and my life's perfect. But I don't think that's like it's almost psychopathic, I think, to be like that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so for me, I think it's more powerful, more anarchic in a way to flip the script. I think it's way more powerful to like go on the one show and they say, "How are you feeling?" and you go, "Oh, I'm having a panic attack." That's way more powerful than going, "I'm great."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Because
Yeah,
then you've got other people at home that might be sitting there feeling really lonely, going, "Oh, I'm not the only one." Because
Yeah.
if you're mirroring perfection, that's not useful in the world,
Mm.
you know, because perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's just a complete illusion.
Mm.
And it's all, I'm going to get really deep here, but it's all designed to make money. So it's an illusion of perfection to create false idols to make lots of money for people. And
Mm.
that's just like, how shit.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's so shit. So yeah, that's why I talk about it. But I think it's also up to everyone. It's where they're at, their capacity,
Yeah.
their goals, their agendas, all that.
Yeah.
and whenever I come and I feel like I have made it. Yeah, but it's all about the but so I think but why am I saying that? The right now you care about that bit care more about a story.
That story. When Josh contacts agents to get people on for interviews and stuff, he always sort of says to them that the interviews are going to be about the person's achievements and career and stuff like that. And he sometimes wonders why he does that, because people that are listening might not be as interested in that as they are about like stories and things that like what you said on the podcast with Joe and Zoe and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah, people, it's all about connecting, isn't it, really? People connect to other people being human, and there's a lot in modern life that sort of gets in the way of that. But then there's a lot that can facilitate that.
yeah,
And I think it's probably more fun to facilitate it um, than not. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Well, maybe you should write, Josh, and just go, "Hi, I heard your client had a breakdown. Should we talk about it?" And oh, they can mention the Oscars if they want.
He's got a big shoulder to cry on.
There you go, you see? Put that in the thing. In the email.
Looking back at your career, what would you say your proudest achievement is?
Oh, well, I was very proud of an album I did, I think in 2011, called Echoes. I was very proud of that. And I was very proud of it. And then the same, I think a year later, I did a musical called Cabaret. I was very proud of that. That was a very interesting, like, creative time.
Mm.
And I was very proud of a tour I did, 2004 tour. It was like really, we had really good visuals. It was very good. I've been very proud of a lot of the videos I've done. And what is it coming up to date? Yeah, oh, and I was very very proud of a podcast that I did. It was sort of one of the first LGBT podcasts.
Mm.
That was really really cool to do. Me and a friend did it, and he still does it now. So I would say, yeah, those things, and then there'll be lots of like little things along the way. Yeah, just little like performances.
Mm.
I did a performance once on a TV show, and it was just really cool. And I think, oh yeah, that was good. It was just like it was just really good.
Yeah.
So they're like little things that I remember sometimes to think, oh God, yeah, that was good. Or I did an acoustic performance there. Oh yeah, no, that was good. I enjoyed that. But I think probably the most important things are how you are around people. Can you bring some light to someone's day, just in the tiny thing, even if it's just saying hi or saying good morning, you
Yeah.
know, the, and I think we're all doing things if we like, we're all, the big picture of life is difficult. You look at America, you look at all these things, you look at the war, you think, oh God, I can't affect any change. But actually, you can affect change just in your daily life, just perhaps even just saying good morning to someone. You have no idea how that might affect
Mm.
the rest of their life,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm sure there's lots of little things that have happened, during my career that have had impacts. Yeah, I know there are lots of little things that have happened to me that have had impacts. So, that I think that's something we should all think of.
What do you remember about coming home?
What do you remember about going on Parkinson?
Oh, Parkinson was, well, it was such a big show. Again, another show that was sort of more like long format, just talking to people.
Mm.
Brilliant interviews he'd get. And I remember it was a big game changer for me. So I was booked as a musical guest
Mm.
to sing Leave Right Now. And then someone had written a very glowing review of my album, Neil McCormack, in the Telegraph, I think, had given me 4 stars. Just and that was a game changer
Mm.
because he is a very well respected music critic, and Parkinson had read it, so he said, "Oh, we need to interview Will as well." So I sung, and then I got interviewed, and then Judi Dench was on the show as well, and then I said I wanted to act, and then I was in a film with her, you know, the following year. So what's that?
More, more, more.
Oh, Parkinson was Josh's hero.
Yeah, he was great. He was very nice, very kind, um, very smart,
Mm.
and very interested, actually. And I think he was a big supporter. If he was a supporter of yours, I mean, he really boosted. He was another example of someone that decided that he liked me, and it kind of boosted my career. And he did that for people like Jamie Cullum as well. He put Jamie Cullum on, kind of gave him a career.
Mm.
So that was the power of his show. But I think he wouldn't suffer fools.
Mm.
Yeah, he liked good manners, and respect and things like that. Yeah, it was great to do though because that was the biggest show growing up. So if you get on Parkinson, that's like, I mean, the equivalent would be getting on Graham Norton now.
Yeah.
You know,
But it was bigger than cooking. No.
it was bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bigger. I mean, there were less shows as well then. I mean, less channels, but
Mm.
it was a massive show. Yeah, yeah, and just the heritage of his interviews
Mm.
are kind of legendary. Everyone, Lauren McCall, you know, Muhammad Ali, Grace Jones, I mean, Richard Burton, and Kenneth Williams. There are just so many. Peter Ustinov, just so many legendary interviews. It's a shame we don't really have that now.
Yeah, just get
Don't get him started. Apparently.
We won't get you started.
Just finally, last question for you. What's next for Will Young? What have you got sort of coming up on the horizons?
I'm writing a book at the moment, which I can't talk about, but I mean, it's interesting. So I'm enjoying that. Well, I think I'm enjoying it, although I hope the publisher's enjoying it. They haven't said anything. And I might be doing a play, and then I'm going to be doing some more music. And I do a lot in my garden, and I'm moving that to YouTube as well. So I really enjoy doing that. So I'll continue. Yeah, so that's really fun. And then just some probably more surprises, stuff that comes up, along the way, which is always really welcome.
You are
If you're ever at the Isle of Wight Festival, they'll be sure to come and see you again.
Yes, but I'll tell security, Josh. You're not getting within 100 yards of me. I don't trust you.
You've heard the story.
You've heard the stories.
I know the fucking stories. Oh, thanks both of you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much to our wonderful guest for being the subject of another Beyond the Title episode. If you like this, why not browse the website and see if there's anything else you like. We're now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Everywhere, quite frankly. Don't forget to like our Facebook page to receive updates on forthcoming interviews, and please do give this podcast a little share. Not in a shoop-shoop song kind of way, you understand, although that's probably quite welcome. Thanks again. Hopefully see you next time. From all of us here, goodbye.